is June 28th. It's a Friday, and I'm going to talk about today after I take you through the account and update you on the virtually no change account. I'm going to talk about why I'm not investing in crypto, why I don't plan on investing in crypto. Not a crypto hater, but I'll explain in a little bit. So let me take you in just real quick. I'm sitting at 60,528 and a half. And some of the big movers today is Apple in the negative 206, the XK plus $9, Main Street Capital plus 11. Really no big movers except Energy Fuels over here. Ticker symbol UUUU. It's up $120. I even sold at the end of the day. Didn't trigger, but hopefully it activates on Monday. A couple of calls against 200 of the shares I have. It's got quite a few gains right now, so I'm looking to collect further from selling calls against some of these shares. I've already sold calls and puts, one put and 3 calls against Energy Fuels. So it's doing well, up $120, 530 overall, 39% gain. All right. So that's about it with the account. So now I'm going to tell you why I'm not investing in crypto. So there was a question in the comment section in my previous video as to, because I mentioned that I'm not invested in crypto, and I'll tell you now why I'm not doing it. First of all, is because you can't invest in crypto. Right? I mean, you can't invest in something like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not an investment in the sense that it doesn't give you a return, right? So if you're investing in a stock in a company, you're expecting that they'll pay out a dividend at a certain time of the year, so you get a return on your investment, right? Even if the company does not pay a dividend, they still have some kind of earnings, and eventually maybe that company starts paying dividends, or if it doesn't, maybe it gets bought out by a different company that does give dividends, a larger company, all right, that can make use and monetize and give payouts based on their earnings. So you can have bad investments, right? You can buy a company and eventually it goes bankrupt, or its business goes sour, and its valuation decreases, but it's still an investment, right? You're expecting returns. You can't buy Bitcoin and expect returns. Some people try to make the case that because of all the splits and Bitcoin Gold and Bitcoin Cash and all that, you can treat them like dividends, but I mean, that's kind of a stretch. That's kind of a stretch. It's like splitting a company in two and saying one of them is a dividend. I mean, so the way that it's treated by the government right now is the way it's taxed is taxed as a commodity, but it's not really a commodity either, because a commodity is just it's like a raw material, copper, wheat. It's a raw material that can be traded. You can trade it on the COMEX, and you can even barter it, but commodities is the base material used for something, right? Bitcoin is not a base material. It's something that exists digitally, right, and cannot be used for anything productive besides being exchanged from one person to another and serve as money. Now, I'm not saying that Bitcoin's not gonna be money eventually, all right? I'm not saying that, but even if it is, I'm going to use it as money. I'm not going to use it as an investment, right? If things are denominated in Bitcoin at some point in the future, which personally I don't think it's likely, but it could happen. I'm not going to put a percentage number on the chances. It could happen that Bitcoin becomes a standard for money, but I will use it, but I will use it as money. I'm not going to use it as an investment, right? You don't say, oh, I invest in dollars, right? I've bought up a bunch of paper dollars or digital dollars, and I'm keeping them under my mattress, and that's my investment. I expect it to appreciate. That's more of a speculation, right? Just the way you trade dollar yen or any other currency pair, right? You're betting that one currency is gonna appreciate versus another. So I'm gonna leave that to the traders. Like, I'm not really a trader, so it's probably wrong to say um, that you could invest in a specific currency. Maybe you can mean it in, you can invest in debt that's denominated in that specific currency. Like if there was Bitcoin denominated debt, maybe I'll consider it. I'll say, okay, maybe I can jump in that. I don't, if I don't think that the currency is gonna crash through the floor, and I think that the debtor is good for the money, and I'm gonna be collecting interest based on my investment, then it could be worth it. But as it stands right now, it sounds a little bit foolish to invest, right? You could trade it, you could speculate in it, but that's not me, right? I can't. I do hold some commodities like gold and a little bit of silver, for example, but they're defined. I mean, like if you go buy some sugar on the commodity exchange, even if the price of the sugar falls down, you'd be able to sell it at a loss, right? Sugar is not gonna just disappear unless it gets stolen. It's not gonna just disappear from the market. It's gonna have some use. Someone's gonna use it, even if there's an abundance of sugar and your price falls through the floor and you lose 50% of it. Like the risks are very well understood, right? And it's kind of a safer thing to do. And um, I'm not. It's not like I'm taking a risk that I'm gonna lose everything I own, right? So like if I buy a bunch of gold, even if it drops 50% tomorrow, I'm still gonna have something. I'm not gonna lose everything I own. But there is that possibility with these quote unquote digital assets is that you will lose everything you own. So I'm not personally willing to take that bet. Like I'm not that kind of a trader. I wanna be able to define my risk so I can match it up with my own risk tolerance and then do it. But as it stands right now, you know, um, Bitcoin and other digital currencies, cryptocurrencies, they have very exclusively undefined risk, right? And people say, oh, just put a little bit here and, um, maybe you could cash out for millions later. Just put like 1% of your portfolio allocation into Bitcoin. But to me, that's almost like saying put 1% of your portfolio into lottery tickets. I mean, you still got a pretty good chance of becoming a multimillionaire. And I can't really compare the two. Like, I don't know how likely one thing, maybe becoming a millionaire off of Bitcoin, is even less likely than buying 1% of my portfolio with in lottery tickets. Like, I don't know. So I'm not touching that. I'm gonna leave it to you guys, to you experts, right? That know what the hell you're doing and um, have the stronger conviction that it's gonna work out for you in the long run or even in the short term. So that's up for you to decide. Like for me personally, even though I understand how it works, I understand the blockchain and all that, and as a technology and appreciate it, and I can see that some people are trying to cash in on this technology, like Wheat and Precious Metals. You're using blockchain for some of their functions, and there's some other miners, steel producers, and so forth. Facebook is creating Libra, right? And their Calibra wallets. So they're trying to implement that kind of technology um, into their companies, but there isn't even a patent on it. Like anybody can just make another Bitcoin. So what Bitcoin's got going for it is not a patent. It's just like the network effect, right? But if I have a patent on if I don't have a patent on steam engines, anyone can just come in, replicate, or even improve on what I'm doing. So I don't even think that there's anything in there that's locked in for sure thing that it kind of it doesn't monopolize the idea is what I'm trying to say. The idea is out there. So long story short, right? It's not an investment. It's a tradable thing. I don't even want to call it a commodity. digital asset. But to me personally, right, it's kind of like um, decentralized WoW gold, right? Like World of Warcraft gold. It's a game that has currency in there, and I don't think they use gold by accident, by the way. um, to me, it's kind of like that. And the farming, right? People farm gold in World of Warcraft. You can look it up if you don't know much about gaming. You can farm gold. You can use your character, go to certain places, and quote unquote farm gold. And to me, the mining is the same thing. Like I used to mine bitcoins back in 2010, right? 2011. I used to actually mine them. I used to get the graphics cards, do the whole thing. So I'm familiar with the process. Like I'm not as ignorant as I may sound, but it's part of the pools that that pay you out once it reaches a certain amount, and the block was split among all the different miners. So I know how all this whole thing works. I still have a couple of ASICs, right, sitting in somewhere, and I'm not really a computer nerd, but I definitely am familiar with the structure. So I decided back then, I made the value judgment that it was the blockchain that's what's valuable and not necessarily the Bitcoin itself, which cannot be used for anything except for a measure of account. And again, to reiterate my point, I'm not saying it's not going to be the future. I'm not saying it's not going to be money. Um, but if it does become money, I'll just use it as money. And I'm not going to invest into the money, right? I'm not, even if gold was money, I wouldn't be holding much gold, right? I wouldn't, it's not like, oh, I'm investing in gold. Well, no, that's not an investment, right? You can save in gold. You can open up a savings account in gold that returns a low percentage of gold over time. Like, I'd be down to do that. I'd invest in a gold savings account for sure. I mean, I even hold gold right now, even though it doesn't return interest, but if it did, it'd be even better, right? So I would do that, but I'm not gonna just store something the equivalent of cash under my mattress. Like that's not investing, right? You can call it an emergency fund, you can do whatever, you can take that risk, and obviously there's risk in everything, but I can't really call it an investment, and that's not what I'm about. So anyway, share your thoughts if you want. I know it's kind of a controversial topic. Like again, I'm not a hater. I don't know what the future holds, right? But if it does hold something, I'd rather return interest on it and get paid over time. So I'm interested to hear what you think about this topic, but I think that's all I have to say on this for now. All right, with that said, peace out.